Ralph Waldo Ellison was born on March 1, 1913, in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, a time and place where African Americans experienced both a degree of cultural freedom and racial discrimination. His father, Lewis Alfred Ellison, was a construction foreman who named him after Ralph Waldo Emerson, hoping his son would grow up to be a poet. Unfortunately, Ellison's father died when he was just 3 years old, leaving his mother, Ida Millsap Ellison, to raise him and his younger brother primarily on her own. She worked a variety of jobs, including domestic service and cooking, to support her family. Growing up in Oklahoma, Ellison developed a deep love for music and literature. He studied classical trumpet and jazz, and was also exposed to the writings of Booker T. Washington, W.E.B. Du Bois, T.S. Eliot, and James Joyce. In 1933, he enrolled at Tuskegee Institute in Alabama, one of the most prestigious, historically black colleges. Though his primary focus was music, Ellison also cultivated his literary interests. However, he left Tuskegee in 1936, just short of completing his degree, and moved to Harlem, New York, where his literary career began to blossom. In Harlem, Ellison met prominent African American writers, including Langston Hughes and Richard Wright, who influenced his political and artistic development. Though he never married during his early years, he later wed Fanny McConnell, a supportive and influential figure in his life. She worked as a literary editor and assisted Ellison throughout his career, especially during the long and challenging process of writing his second novel. Main works. Ralph Ellison's literary fame rests almost entirely on a single work, his masterpiece, Invisible Man, 1952. This novel won the National Book Award in 1953 and remains one of the most important works of American literature. The story explores the life of an unnamed African American narrator who feels socially invisible due to the racism and stereotypes that surround him. As the protagonist journeys from the segregated South to Harlem, the book delves into themes of identity, alienation, racial injustice, and the struggle for self-definition in a world that refuses to see black individuality. Invisible Man is both a social commentary and a philosophical exploration. While deeply rooted in the African American experience, the novel also draws from existentialism, modernist literature, and symbolic language. It is filled with memorable scenes, such as the surreal battle royal, and the narrator's descent into an underground hideout illuminated by 1,369 light bulbs, each representing deeper truths about visibility, power, and societal structure. Although Ellison published numerous essays and short stories, he struggled to write a second novel. Over the decades, he produced multiple drafts and fragments, but he never finished the project during his lifetime. After he died in 1994, a heavily edited version of his unpublished work was compiled and published as Juneteenth 1999, edited by John F. Callahan. This posthumous novel explores race, memory, and American identity through the complex relationship between a black preacher and a white senator. Ellison's collected essays also gained acclaim, particularly in the volume Shadow and Act, 1964. These essays reflect his insights on culture, politics, music, and literature. Ellison emphasized the importance of artistic form, individualism, and complexity, often resisting the notion that African American writers should limit themselves to political protest or realism. Anecdotes and controversies. Ellison's life was rich with fascinating stories that reflect his personality, intellect, and the cultural world he inhabited. One such anecdote concerns his first encounter with the idea of invisibility. As a child, Ellison was a voracious reader. In a later interview, he recalled being deeply influenced by H.G. Wells's The Invisible Man and took the concept literally and imaginatively. This idea would become a powerful metaphor in his novel. Ellison was also known for his meticulous and perfectionist approach to writing. Friends often joked about his habit of endlessly revising his work. This trait partly explains why he never finished a second novel during his lifetime. He once remarked that he needed to find the right music for his prose, likening his writing process to composing a jazz piece. In everyday life, Ellison had a passion for high-quality audio equipment and classical music. He built elaborate sound systems in his home and was known to spend hours listening to orchestral recordings. This love for music, particularly jazz and blues, heavily influenced his literary style, giving his work a rhythmic, improvisational quality. Despite the acclaim he received, Ralph Ellison had his critics. One central point of contention centered on his perceived detachment from the Black Power and civil rights movements of the 1960s. While many African American writers, such as James Baldwin and Amiri Baraka, used their work to address racial injustice directly, Ellison was more reserved in his public political engagement. Some activists accuse him of being out of touch or even elitist. Ellison defended his position by arguing that the role of a writer was not to serve a particular political ideology, but to reveal deeper human truths. He believed literature should reflect the complexity of life rather than conform to political dogma. Still, this stance led to criticism from those who felt that he had turned his back on the urgent needs of the Black community. Conclusion: Ralph Ellison remains a towering figure in American literature. Through his life, writings, and intellectual contributions, he challenged readers to confront the invisible forces that shape identity, race, and society. In his later years, Ellison maintained a high public profile, receiving numerous awards and honorary degrees. His work continues to resonate today, inspiring new generations to explore the intricate layers of the human experience.